And welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and ultimately give you more confidence by showing you how to look at the words that people use all around you to understand what they're really saying. We're going to look in this episode at the case of Madeline Soto. Sadly, Madeline was 13 years old and was found dead at the beginning of March 24 in Florida. And we're going to look at the words of her mother, Jennifer Soto, who spoke to the media a few times in the period that Madeline was missing. And I'm going to need your help with some of that, including what is going on here.
She wanted to walk the rest of the way. Sorry.
Before we begin, a bit of background is that the guy you heard there is Jennifer's boyfriend, Stephen Stearns. In the course of the investigation into missing Madeline, law enforcement looked at his phone and found some pretty grim stuff there. So he's currently facing around 60 charges, I think, and is locked up. At the time of recording, no charges have been laid against anyone, including Stephen, around the disappearance or death of Madeline. Kind of feels right now like that is on the way. What we are going to look at is the words of Jennifer. How much did she know about what was going on? Is she covering for Stephen? Is she complicit with it as well? Watch out for, as we listen to her words, does she answer the question that she's asked? That's going to be very revealing. And look out for any repeated words or ideas, things that she mentions regularly. They're a clue to what's high priority inside her head. Here's the first interview and question number one.
Jen, go ahead and tell us what's going on with Maddie.
Well, Monday morning, we took her to school. We dropped her off close to school, across the street from a church, which is it's right next to the school. She crossed the street and walked to school, what we thought walked to school. My boyfriend who drove her to school drove away at that point. It was seen on video footage that she hung out in the parking lot of the church for a few minutes and then got up and walked towards the school. But she never made it that walk and that was around 9 a.m. when she got up. She never made it to school after that. It's right next to the school. I don't know why she didn't make it. I don't know if something happened on her walk along the way or if she got taken, but she never made it.
So the question is, Jen, go ahead and tell us what's going on with Maddie. And the answer starts, Monday morning, we took her to school. We dropped her off close to school, across the street from a church, which is it's right next to the school. She crossed the street and walked to school, what we thought was walked to school. My boyfriend, who drove her to school, drove away at that point. It was seen on video footage that she hung out in the parking lot of the church for a few minutes and then got up and walked towards the school. So what do I notice there? Well, number one, the question is asked, tell us what's going on with Maddie. So what is going on with Maddie? So present tense right now. And you'll see in the answer that she talks about the past, what has happened, in her words, what has happened, but she doesn't tell us what is going on at that precise moment in time, which is, I believe, Madeline is missing. So that's a bit of a red flag there. She's asked what's going on, and it feels like she's storytelling here. It feels like she's gone, instead of just talking about the present situation, or maybe setting some context and then talking about the present situation, it feels like she's going into a prepared version of events. We see this from politicians a lot when they're asked a question and they go, well, that's not the point. I want to talk about something else that I've prepared for, that I've got good stats on it and so on. That's what this feels like. Jen starts her answer with the word well. Now, whenever anyone answers a question and the first word is well, be aware of what's happening. It's setting you up for a surprise. I'm not going to answer the question the way you want. I'm going to answer the question the way I want. And I'm going to explain things. I'm not just going to answer the question normally, just tell you, the truth that's out there. I'm going to do some explaining. When answers to questions start with well, doesn't mean they're a lie, doesn't mean they're being deceptive or misleading. It's just a bit of a flag there to go, pay attention to what's being said. The answer is perfectly in the past tense. We took her to school. We dropped her off. She crossed the street and walked to school, but we thought walked to school. My boyfriend who drove her to school drove away. It was seen on video footage. She hung out, past tense, got up, past tense, walked towards school. So the answer is perfectly in past tense. And that's what we would expect very often. More often you'd realize when someone is telling you a fabricated version of events, they might slip into the present tense every now and again as they're making it up in the present time in their head, experiencing it in the present time as they make it up in their head. But this is all told in the past tense. But I do spot some things to worry about. For example, said very definitely, she crossed the street and walked to school. And then all that certainty of she did cross the street, she did walk to school, all that certainty is taken away. What we thought was walked to school. Also, the boyfriend has said certainly that he drove her to school, walk, then corrected, drove away at that point. So again, I'm feeling there's potentially some storytelling going here where she said something that's not actually part of some confirmed story that she wants to tell. She said something out of line with that story, so she has to roll back on it and correct what she said. Hence why she walked to school, what we thought was walked to school, and he walked away, drove away at that point. I think that's what's going on there. You could hear when she was talking the amount of times she said, She said it a lot in that answer. And that is an indication that she's thinking very carefully about what it is she's going to say next. Again, this could be a lie. You know, what is the story? I need to get it straight in my head. I need to see I need to say the right things. So while I'm thinking about that in my brain and putting the right words together, I'm going to say it out loud. That can happen a lot. Or it could be, I want to get this exactly right. It's such an important thing. I'm doing an interview with TV that I want to get the story absolutely right so that if there's any witnesses can come forward, then they will, so that it's really straight what happened. But she is very carefully considering her words. That's what we can say with certainty with that lots of ums. I'm wondering who took Madeline to school in this story, because in some cases it's we, her and someone else. On Monday morning, we took her to school. We dropped her off close to school. We thought she walked to school. And then she tells us, my boyfriend who drove her to school. Why that change? Why is it the actions of we at one point and then just the actions of the boyfriend at another point? I'm very interested in that change there. Jennifer talks about video footage and she says it was seen on video footage that she hung out in the parking lot. It was seen. That's a very passive statement. Who saw who? Yeah, it was seen. You know, the police have seen her on video footage. Would be more active. It would reveal who has seen what. No, it was seen is very passive, especially when you're talking about your daughter who is currently missing at the time she was talking, and she kind of refers to her daughter and her daughter's actions as it. Just it was seen. It's so passive. I actually wonder, did that happen? Has that happened? I don't know, but if I saw a phrase like it was seen, and when I see a phrase like it was seen, then I'm going, did that actually happen? And what was seen? The video footage she was seen in the video footage that she hung out in the parking lot for a few minutes and then got up and walked towards school. So she hung out. Well, got up doesn't follow hanging out, does it? She was sitting down and then got up and walked towards school. Or in this case, slightly more worrying, she was lying down and then got up and walked towards school. But she hung out and then got up and walked towards school. It's an interesting, unexpected way of phrasing things. She mentions twice that Madeline was dropped at a church. It's across the street from a church, and then it says she was seen in the parking lot of the church. Now, what is that about? There's something that we notice often in liars and deceitful people where they invoke God. They'll say, honest to God, or as God is my witness, or I'll swear on the Bible. They invoke a God, and that is supposed to give their words more credibility because it's very close. You know, I'm talking to God. I'm dealing with God here. You know, therefore you must believe me, because who, talks about God and invokes God when they're lying? Is that what's going on with this mention of church and church being a safe haven and a sanctuary? Is she trying to get safe haven, sanctuary, and invoking God in the story here. Is that why she mentioned church twice? Let's look at some of the things that she mentions quite a lot in that answer. And in the first part, she mentions a couple of times how close they were to the school that it was when Madeline was dropped off. We dropped her off close to the school. It's right next to the school. What's that about? Sometimes when people are lying, they'll repeat things a lot because they don't want to just chance that you didn't hear the lie the first time. It's really important to them that you hear the lie, that you believe the lie. So sometimes we repeat things when we're being deceitful to make sure they really sink in with us. Is that what's happening here? Were they never close to school at all? But she wants to show how close she was to school at all. Sometimes this could be image management. I'm not a bad parent. I didn't drop her off blocks and blocks from school, but very close to school. But she repeats it. She really wants us to know, for some reason, how close it was to the school that Madeline was dropped off. The other thing I notice a lot is that she talks about Madeline walking a lot. She walked to school, what we thought was walk to school, got up and walked towards school. Once more, she really wants us to know that Madeline was walking at this point. She really wants us to know that that walking is going on. Well, we're talking about that. She crossed the street and walked to school. What we thought was walked to school. Who walked to school? It just is and walked to school. What we thought walked to school. Dropped pronoun there. It's not she walked to school, or we thought she walked to school, or Madeline walked to school, or what we thought Madeline walked to school. When there's no pronoun, when it's not clear or it's not explicit when someone's talking who took the action, that can point to a lack of commitment in what is being said, and may mean that it is not true. It's an indicator. It's not proof. None of these things are proof that someone is lying or telling the truth. They're just all interesting data points. And I think as we go on, you can spot that there are a lot of very interesting data points here from Jennifer. Jennifer continues, but she never made it. Not walk from the and was that was around 9 a.m. when she got up. She never made it to school after that. It's right next to the school. I don't know why she didn't make it. I don't know if something happened on her walk along the way or she got taken, but she never made it. You'll see in the second part, she repeats a lot of what it is she's already said, and a lot of the things that we've pointed out that she mentions a lot. Walk gets mentioned again. I don't know if something happened on her walk along the way. So she keeps getting across this concept of Madeline walking. Other repeated things here. But she never made it. She never made it to school. She didn't make it. She never made it. Now, apart from one where she does say she never made it to school, Jennifer doesn't say where Madeline didn't make it or what Madeline didn't make. She just says, but she never made it. She didn't make it. She never made it. Now, that worries me, that repetition of didn't make it, because that's a euphemism for someone dying. We talk about someone going in for an operation and they never made it. Or soldiers going into battle, and if one doesn't come back, we may say they never made it. And that really, really worries me that she uses that phrase 4 times. Only once she says she never made it to the school. Once more, proximity is really important to Jennifer. It's right next to school. She really wants us to know that where Madeline was dropped off was very close to school. She tells us, I don't know why she didn't make it. I don't know if something happened. Now, why is she telling us that she doesn't know? Why is it important for her to say twice, I don't know. I don't know why she didn't make it. I don't know if something happened. Why is she telling us that she doesn't know? Now, obviously something happened, because in her story, Madeline got dropped off and Madeline was seen heading towards school. So why is she saying, I don't know if something happened? Because something did happen. But I'm also interested in why it's important for Jennifer to tell us, I don't know. She says, I don't know if something happened on her walk or she got taken. What does that mean? Because being taken would be something happening. So why she split those two things out? Something happened on her walk or she got taken, but she didn't. She never made it. So one answer in, I've got a whole load of questions about some very strange word choices. Before the next answer, please hit the subscribe or follow button if you want to get more like this when it comes out. Always interested in your comments. You can comment here on this platform if you can with any questions, observations, or suggestions that you have as well. This case was a suggestion that was left underneath one of my previous episodes, so it would be great for you to suggest anything to look at. Please, the like button, if you press that right now, oh, thank you. If you press that right now, that means this gets to more people. And also, please share it with anyone who may be interested in this case, maybe interested in missing persons, or maybe could do with some help in understanding the words that are said all around them. Here's some more from Jennifer.
And that was the last anyone's seen of her or heard from her?
Yes. I went to pick her up after school. And she wasn't there. So I started driving around, maybe thinking she took a walk. Maybe she decided to walk to my mom's office, which is pretty close to the school as well. I drove around and I didn't see anything. I drove back to the school. The school was closed. I emailed one of her teachers. They confirmed that she was absent all day. At that point is when I called 911 because I realized something was truly wrong.
So Jennifer said there, well, she was asked, and that was the last anyone's seen or heard of her. And she says, yes, I went to pick her up after school, and she wasn't there. So I started driving around, maybe thinking she took a walk. Maybe she decided to walk to my mom's office, which is pretty close to the school as well. Drove around and I didn't see anything. I drove back to school. The school was closed. I emailed one of her teachers. They confirmed that she was absent all day. At that point is when I called 911 because I realized something was truly wrong. So has she answered the question this time? Well, she kind of has, because it's a yes-no question. That was the last time anyone's seen of her or heard from her. Yes, it was, or no, it wasn't. In this case, she says yes, because in her story, that's what's happened. But then she adds in a lot more information. She talks about a time that she didn't see or hear from Madeline. She talks about going to pick her up after school, what she did to try and find her, realizing she was missing, and calling 911. So the question was about the morning. That's the last time anyone saw of her. She says yes, and then she tells a lot of storytelling around the afternoon. Again, I feel like, is this a story she had prepared to tell? So when a question comes and she thinks that this story will fit the answer to that question, she's going to get it in. However, to be fair, once more, perfectly in past tense, I went to pick her up. She wasn't there. I started driving about, drove around. I didn't see anything. I drove back to school. The school was closed. I emailed one of the teachers. This is all past tense. They confirmed that she was absent all day. At that point is when I called 911. I realized something was truly wrong. So there's everything there is in past tense, exactly as we would expect it when someone is relaying past events. However, more things for me to worry about, I'm afraid. She drove around and I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything? Were you looking for anything, or were you looking for Madeline or signs of Madeline? No, I didn't see anything. Once more, she thinks that Madeline may have taken a walk, or she decided to walk. So we've got this repetition again of Madeline walking. Walking, for some reason, is really high in the brain and the priority list for Jennifer as she's telling this story. And what about this one? My mom's office, which is pretty close to the school as well. As well as what? It would be fine to leave that. Maybe she decided to walk to my mom's office, which is pretty close to the school. But as well? As well as what? Here's another one. I started driving around, maybe thinking she took a walk. Now, I got the impression the first time I heard that she went, oh, maybe she's taking a walk. I'm going to drive around and try and find her. But no, that's not what she says. She doesn't say, I was thinking that maybe she took a walk, so definitely thinking that maybe she took a walk. No, she says, I was maybe thinking she took a walk. So she's not even telling us what she was thinking. There is kind of vague. I was maybe thinking she took a walk, so I started driving around. Maybe that's what I was thinking. That's really, really strange. Proximity, again. Mom's office is pretty close to the school. For some reason, she wants everything contained in a very small area around the school here. There's nothing that enters her head that things could be further afield. Why is that? Is it because she wants things to stay pretty close to the school? That's where the story should begin and end. We don't look too far away from the school. Or, once again, is it about the safety of Madeline being close to the school? This one worried me. I emailed one of her teachers and they confirmed that she was absent all day. Now, look at how we use the word confirmed. Confirmed is when you think something is possible and someone says, yes, that is in fact the case. They have confirmed it. I would expect here, because she didn't know Madeline in her story had been missing all day, I emailed one of the teachers and they told me that she was absent all day, or they said that she was absent all day, but confirmed that she was absent all day. That to me strikes me like she had in her head already, Madeline has been absent from school all day, but I'm going to email one of the teachers to confirm that. And they confirmed she was absent all day. That's a worry to me. Here's some more from Jennifer.
And I have to ask this, and I know I hate doing it, but is she the type that would run away? Has this happened in the past or anything? Has she ever threatened to run away?
Never. She's never ever mentioned anything like this before, and she's not the type to want to do this. She did accidentally leave her phone on Monday, which is kind of normal for her. She's got ADHD and very forgetful. So she left her phone at home, so there's no way to trace her. They tried tracing her school laptop, but that's off, so it's not pinging to anything.
The question that was asked is, I have to ask this, and I know I hate doing it, but is she the type that would run away? Has this happened in the past or anything? Has she ever threatened to run away? And the reply from Jennifer is never. She's never ever mentioned anything like this before, and she's not the type to want to do this. She did accidentally leave her phone on Monday, which is kind of normal for her. She's got ADHD and very forgetful. So she left her phone at home, so there's no way to trace her. They tried tracing her school laptop, but that's off, so it's not pinging to anything. Third question in. How does she answer it? Does she directly answer the question? Well, it's a yes or no question. Has she ever threatened to run away? Is she the type that would run away? And when someone is asked a yes or no question and they do not say yes or no in their answer, we're really looking for it in the first few words of the answer. That's a worry. Why not say yes or no? Jennifer doesn't do that here. And once more, she gives more than was asked. So has she ever threatened to run away? Never mentioned anything like this before. She's not the type to want to do this. And then we've got some more storytelling around leaving the phone and the fact the laptop is off. So she's giving more than was asked. Once more, making me feel that this is a prepared story that she's desperate to get out. She talks about Madeline doing anything like this. So, no, never. She's never ever mentioned anything like this before, and she's not the type to want to do this. Now, you think about, again, how we use that word this. This is a specific something. Here's this. So these would be appropriate words if she knew for a fact that Madeline had run away. She's never done this before. She's not the type to want to do this. However, she's saying that this is not what's happened and she's not the type to do this. We'd expect to hear the word that. She's never mentioned anything like that before. She's not the type to want to do that. Just like if you spoke about me and I'm a very punctual person, and so you'd say, is he late for this meeting? He's not the type of person to do that. Yeah, he's missing. So I'm worried about that. Do this. But also that specific thing is run away. And that comes into some of the words that she uses later. So just remember, she's talking about this as being here, Madeline running away. This is a specific thing. And she's talking about like that is what's happened. When she's asked the question, she says never. She's never, ever. I think that's laying it on a bit too thick. Never. She's never, ever. Just no would have done. Or she's not mentioned anything like this before. I think potentially she has mentioned running away before. In fact, I think maybe she has run away before or threatened to, because we'll see it in some of the words later. Here we come to the storytelling part. Why did she have to tell us that Madeline accidentally left her phone on Monday? She could have just told us that Madeline left her phone on Monday. she's got ADHD and forgot it. But it's the accidental, and the accidental comes before anything else. So it's really important to her that this is just an accident that Madeline left her phone on Monday. And I guess as well with this one, how does she know it was an accident? Maybe Madeline didn't want to take her phone with her that day. Maybe Madeline was in trouble at school and her phone was going to get taken off her that day, so it was deliberate that she left the phone on Monday. How does she know it was an accident to leave the phone on Monday? I think there are some explanations that would make that happen, but why is it important for her to tell us that it was an accident? Towards the end of that answer, she uses the word so a lot. That means we're not just getting a story, we're getting an explanation, we're getting reasons. So she left her phone at home because she's got ADHD. So there's nowhere to trace her because she left her phone at home. They tried tracing a laptop, it's off, so it's not pinging to anything. So she's using the word so, and that is giving us reasons and explanations rather than just telling us what happened, a way of events. Now, there's no way to trace her. There are ways of tracing people that don't involve phones. I know phones is an easy one and a really go-to one, but there's no way to trace her. Well, actually, if the laptop was on, there would be a way to trace her. So that doesn't hang together, because just because she hasn't got her mobile phone doesn't mean there's no way to trace her. So why are you telling us there's no way to trace her? No way to trace her through her phone would be fine, but that's not what she's saying. She's saying no, emphatic, there is no way to trace her. Spoke about tenses with Jennifer, and she's got this one right. She's got ADHD. So if Madeline is still alive at this point, she's got ADHD. She has got ADHD. She's got it now, is the correct use of that. If she said she had ADHD, then that would be more worrying because she was referring to Madeline in the past tense. But this is, again, perfect tense use. She's got ADHD. They tried tracing her on her school laptop, says Jennifer, but that's off, so it's not pinging to anything. How does she know it's off? How does she know the laptop is off? Could be that it's smashed or outside of ping range, not connected to a Wi-Fi or anything like that. It could be on, not connected to a Wi-Fi, but for some reason, she knows that the laptop is off. She says that is off. That's bit of a worry for me. Let's have some more.
Jen, what is your fear? I know you mentioned she's on games and stuff. Do you think she could have met somebody and tried to meet up with them?
She's open to us. She's open with us about, if she's got a crush with anyone, and she told us she had a crush on someone at school. And I looked at their messages, nothing was weird. I looked at all of her messages, all of her deleted messages. Nothing seemed weird. It didn't seem like she was talking to anyone. So I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like she may have been taken, because this is not like her at all, to just disappear and not tell us, not let us know where she's going or who she's with. Yeah.
The interviewer asks, Jen, what is your fear? I know you mentioned she's on games and stuff. Do you think she could have met somebody and tried to meet up with them? And Jen's answer is she's open to us. She's open with us about, she's got a crush with anyone, and she told us she had a crush on someone at school. And I looked at their messages. Nothing was weird. I looked at all of her messages, all of her deleted messages. Nothing seemed weird. It didn't seem like she was talking to anyone. So I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like she may have been taken, because this is not like her at all to just disappear and not tell us, not let us know where she's going or who she's with. Yeah. Look at how she answers the question once more. The question is, what is your fear? And it takes her a long, long time to get to the fear. So what is your fear? And she talks about what a great parent she is because that Madeline's very open with them and that she's looked through all the messages to see if anything could be found. And then finally, she says her fear is, I feel like she may have been taken. Now that I feel she may have been taken is at odds with some of the things that she said, where she's acknowledged that this was running away and she said she'd do this. So she's saying that Madeline may have run away. And earlier she said, I don't know if something's happened. And now she's saying, I feel like she may have been taken. So she's not great at answering this question either. And she gets herself some thinking time to look at that. And when she comes up with it, it kind of contradicts some of the things that she's said earlier. Did you notice another correction in that answer? She's open to us. She's open with us about, she's got a crush. Now, those are two very, very different things. She's open to us. She's open with us. She's open with us. Well, let's start with that one. If you're open with someone, it means you're very honest and you really talk about everything that's going on with them. If you're open to someone, you're open to their ideas or other things that they may want you to do or think or ways to behave. She's open to us was the first thing that came out of her mouth, and she corrected that to she's open with us. I didn't like that. This is not like her at all to just disappear and not tell us. Well, disappearing is, you wouldn't tell someone. If you disappear, if you tell someone you're going to disappear, you haven't disappeared, I don't think. Especially a 13-year-old child who maybe, I'm going out, you tell your parents. If you disappear, you don't tell your parents where you're going. So that is an interesting one. It's not like her at all to just disappear and not tell us. So I think there's been something going on there. Has Madeline run away before, even in a 13-year-old style temper tantrum, and run away from home before? I do wonder if there has been some issues in that household that have caused Madeline to disappear, to run away, even as a child that age does. It's not for very long, but I do wonder if that's happened. We get more repetition in this answer. When she talks about the messages that she looked at, nothing was weird, and then she looked at all the messages and nothing seemed weird. Weird is an interesting bit of word choice. Was she looking for something weird? Why was she looking for something weird? Not worrying, concerning, anything that gave us clues as to what might have happened, what was going on in Madeline's head, or if someone was trying to groom her or something like that. No, just looking for weird things in Madeline's messages. That interested me. As did this difference between Jennifer and Stephen, her boyfriend. So if you look at how Madeline relates to them, it's both of them. She's open to us. She's open with us. She told us she had a crush. It's not like her to disappear and not tell us, not let us know who she's going or who she's with. Yeah, so Madeline relates to, when Madeline puts something out there, then she's talking to both of them, Stephen and Jennifer. If you look at who's taking action here, it's Jennifer. I looked at their messages. I looked at all of her messages. I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like she may have been taken. A very interesting division there in terms of Jennifer is talking for herself and explaining some of her own actions, but in any of Madeline's actions, Madeline is acting towards the pair of them, Stephen and Jennifer, us. And finally, again, this is not like her at all to just disappear and not tell us. Again, not like her doesn't mean that she hasn't done it before. It's just a rare occurrence, or seldom happens. But not like her doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It's like me. It's not like me to be late, but I will be late at times. Yeah, so not like her. Let's hear some more.
What are you getting from law enforcement? Are they actively searching for her? What happens now? Especially that she doesn't have her phone with her.
So as far as I know, they're conducting a search around the school. Behind the school, there's a Shingle Creek. There's a wooded path area that you could walk. It's a hiking path. They are going back there with their canine dogs. They've taken a piece of her clothing to see if they can trace her scent. They're also taking their own vehicles. I'm not sure what type of vehicles, but they're going into the woods to search for her. But I don't feel like that's going to find anything right now. We've had people all day on that trail sending us photos to see if anything there looks familiar and like her personal belongings, and nothing is hers. So I'm not sure where to go from here. I'm just contacting the news to get the word out, to get some help, because I'm desperate. I'm a wreck right now.
The question that's asked this time is, what are you getting from law enforcement? Are they actively searching for her? What happens now? Especially that she doesn't have her phone with her. And the answer is, So, as far as I know, they're conducting a search around the school. Behind the school, there's a shingle creek. There's a wooded path area that you could walk. It's a hiking path. They're going back there with their canine dogs. They've taken a piece of her clothing to see if they can trace her scent. They've also taken their own vehicles. I'm not sure what type of vehicles, but they're going into the woods to search for her. But I don't feel like that's going to find anything right now. We've had people all day on that trail sending us photos to see if anything there looks familiar and like her personal belongings, and nothing is hers. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure where to go from here. I'm just contacting the news to get the word out to get some help because I'm desperate. I'm a wreck right now. I think finally we can say she does answer the question, although she doesn't quite say what she's getting from law enforcement. She just says as far as she knows what's going on, but I think that does directly answer the question. One of the most interesting things in this answer was she was obsessed with the vehicles, who owned the vehicles and what type of vehicles they were. So they're taking their own vehicles, but I'm not sure what type of vehicles. That was very interesting that she mentioned vehicles there. Kind of, is it irrelevant who owns the vehicles, what type of vehicles are going in to do the search? But yeah, she really wants to let us know she's thinking about who owns the vehicles and what type of vehicles are involved in the search. Repeated again some of the things that are coming through very strongly in her words. They're conducting a search around the school, behind the school. So this proximity to the school comes in again, that everything is around the school, behind the school, just close to the school. And it's a wooded area where you could walk. It's a hiking path. So once again, we've got the repetition of walk, hiking, walking, kind of the same things. But these things are really high up in her mind for her to keep talking about the proximity to the school and walking. Jennifer says, I don't feel like that's going to find anything right now. Does that mean that something's going to be found at another time, which would be sometime in the future? Why does she say right now? Interesting word choice. The search is going on just now. I don't feel like that's going to find anything right now. We spoke about proximity a lot, that everything is around the school. When she went looking for Madeline, she stayed close to the school. And she says, I'm not sure where to go from here. So this is moving. I know that this is a metaphor that we use where we talk about, I don't know where to go, which means do something different or talk to someone different. But it's a metaphor based in movement. Now, what have we seen before? We've seen the proximity close to the school. We've seen a real focus on walking and a focus on vehicles, which give movement. And so does where to go from here. So this is about movement away from that proximity. Vehicles, walking. There's something going on with her repeated concepts, which are around location and staying in one location, but now moving. I don't know where to go from here. Is it walking? Isn't it a vehicle? But something in that word choice. Jen says, I'm just contacting the news to get the word out to get some help. That's not what has been asked of her. What's been asked of her is what are law enforcement doing? And she's saying what she's doing there. And I think this is very much I'm a very good mother. I'm doing everything I can to find missing Madeline. That's kind of undone by saying, I'm desperate. I'm a wreck right now. That's concern for herself. That's telling us how desperate, how much of a wreck she feels like now. She has not yet in this interview expressed any concern for her missing 13-year-old daughter at all. And that's a worry.
So you think that she's been taken against her will?
I do think so, yes.
As a mom, what's your mother's intuition telling you right now?
I'm trying to hope for the best, but I'm scared for her. I want her to be okay and I want her to be safe. I don't want her to come back harmed. I just want her back. Whatever that means. I just want her back.
So the first question that's asked there is, do you think she's been taken against her will? And Jennifer says, I do think so, yes. Yes, no question. And she does answer with yes. As a mom, what is your mother's intuition telling you right now? And Jennifer says, I'm trying to hope for the best, but I'm scared for her. I want her to be okay. I want her to be safe. I don't want her. I don't want her to come back harmed. I just want her back. Whatever that means, I just want her back. The second question is, what's your mother's intuition telling you right now? And she doesn't answer the question. She tells us what hope she has and she tells us how she feels, but she doesn't tell us what her mother's intuition is telling her right now. And that's very interesting. Finally, after concern for herself and telling us how desperate she was and how she felt like a wreck, Jennifer does express concern for Madeline. I'm scared for her. I want her to be okay. I want her to be safe. Interesting here, and I ran this past some mothers. What's your mother's intuition telling you right now? And she says, I don't want her to come back harmed. And really, there's a bit of a loss there of that mothering instinct. I want her back, whatever. And she does say that. I want her back, whatever that means later. But first thing she says is, I don't want her to come back harmed. That comes before, I want her back, whatever. I just want her back, whatever. Although she does say, I just want her back, whatever that means. That is an interesting one. Does that mean that whatever has happened to her, maybe she knows what that means? It's an interesting one. I just want her back, whatever that means. Very strange, especially on the back of a, I don't want her to come back harmed. But I want to talk to you about something here. The end of that answer says, I want her to be okay. I want her to be safe. I don't want her to come back harmed. I just want her back. Whatever that means, I want her back. Those are words that could be truly said by a mom who has no idea what has happened to her daughter, who is really, really concerned and wants the return of her daughter at any price. It could also be the words of someone who knows that something bad has happened, that Madeline is not going to come back in any way like she was before. Those words could be said by both and be truthful. I want her to be okay. I want her to be safe. I don't want her to come back harmed. I just want her back. Whatever that means, I just want her back. Here's the last clip. This is from a different interview, so some of the questions are the same.
When did you first realize, or when did you file a missing report?
We filed a missing report. We called the police at like 4:45 yesterday, 4:45 p.m. But she actually went missing early that morning, around between 8:45 and 9 o'clock in the morning. She went missing. We had dropped her off close to the school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. Sorry. That should be it. Sorry about that. We dropped her off at school, close to school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to share.
You can share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. I know you had conversations with detectives. Not sure what that conversation is, but whichever you feel comfortable sharing, that will put the awareness out there.
Yeah, she was spotted walking by the church, by the middle school, on the cameras. They saw her hang out in the parking lot for a little bit and then get up and leave. They didn't see a vehicle or anything else. They just saw her walk away around 9 a.m. heading towards the school, but she never made it.
So in that bit, the first question is, when did you first realize, or when did you file on this report? And Jennifer says, we filed a missing report. We called the police at like 4:45 yesterday, 4:45 p.m. But she actually went missing early that morning, around between 8:45 and 9 o'clock in the morning. She went missing. We had dropped her off close to school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. Once more, we have these uhs and ums there as she carefully considers what it is that she's going to say. And that's all we can get from them. She was carefully considering her words. Maybe she just wants to get the true story out and she's being very deliberate about it, but she's certainly carefully considering her words. And I've spoken before, that could be because she's storytelling constructed events and wants to make sure she says exactly the right thing, because lying is hard. She's asked, when did you file the report? And once more, she gives much more. And she says she actually went missing that morning between 8:45 and 9 o'clock. So she was asked, when did they file the report? Or when did you first realise that she went missing? She doesn't actually tell us when she realised. What she says is she actually went missing early that morning between 8:45 and 9 o'clock. That's changed slightly, I believe. 9 o'clock was the answer that she gave the first time she was talking. So this is not very consistent. Once more, we've got that joined upness. We filed a missing report. We called the police. She said it was herself earlier on, and I don't think more than one person can call the police. We had dropped her off close to school, so I'm not clear who it is dropped her off close to school, because several times she says we dropped her off close to school. Other times it was my boyfriend who drove her to school. You may have noticed, once more, she wanted to walk the rest of the way. So we've got this repetition of walking. And then we've got that really weird part. If you can watch the video of it, what is going on there and how does she feel about it? I'm not a body language expert. Sometimes I almost see amusement in it. Sometimes I see stress and disgust being on her face around what is happening there. But get in touch in the comments if you can on your platform, or you'll find all the links to social media in the description here. I'd love to know, what do you think is going on with her at that part when all that noise and racket is happening in the background when she's giving an interview about her missing child? It is unbelievable that that could happen. So she says sorry for the noise, and then she says that should be it. Sorry about that. We dropped her off at school, close to school. She wanted to walk the rest of the way. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to share. So we've got the unity again. We dropped her off at school. She says we dropped her off at school a lot, but she did say at one point my boyfriend dropped her off at school. We've got this correction again. We dropped her off at school, close to school. We've got that correction again from something certain, at school, to something a bit more vague, close to school. You'll see again, proximity is really important to her. At school, close to school. And she wanted to walk the rest of the way. All past tense, by the way. Dropped her off at school, wanted to walk the rest of the way. But we've got a repetition of walking. She says, I'm not sure what I'm allowed to share. And the interviewer says, share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. I know you've had conversations with the detectives. Not sure what that conversation was, but whatever you feel comfortable sharing, that will put the awareness out there. And Jennifer says, yeah. She was spotted walking by the church, by the middle school, on the cameras. They saw her hang out in the parking lot for a little bit and then get up and leave. They didn't see a vehicle or anything else. They just saw her walk away around 9 a.m. heading towards the school, but she never made it. So there's that contradiction. She went missing between 8:45 and 9, but actually she was seen at 9 a.m. So she went missing after 9 a.m. So it doesn't hang together. But once more, we've got this passive language around what was seen on the cameras here. She talks about it. She was spotted. They saw her hang out. They saw her walk away. It's very passive. Once more, it leads me to think, was she really spotted on cameras? Repetition again. She was spotted walking. They saw her walk away. Walk is really important. And look, what was she spotted doing? This all feels out of time. She was spotted walking by the church. Okay, so that's by the church, walking by the church. Then she goes backwards in time because she's walking by the church. Maybe she then walked by the church and did the hangout. I guess they saw her hang out in the parking lot for a little bit and then get up and leave. And we've spoken about that before. This is a repetition. She was hanging out in the parking lot and then got up and left, which is... Again, you'd expect got up and leave to follow sitting down in the parking lot or lying down somewhere. That's when you say someone got up. Hang out and then got up don't go together well. But look at this as well. Get up and leave. They saw her walk away. So I'm not entirely sure what was spotted here. Was she spotted walking away or was she spotted walking by? It's not very clear. and we have that repetition, that metaphor, that thing we use to describe death. She never made it. And one last thing, they didn't see a vehicle or anything else. Once again, focus on vehicles here. A real focus on vehicles. She doesn't say why she'd be expecting to see a vehicle. They didn't see a vehicle or anything else. So I've got the repeated mentions of walking, of vehicles, and proximity really interest me. And that's what we're going to look at from Jennifer. What are my conclusions? I see there multiple indicators that she is storytelling and giving a prepared version of events. And I see multiple indicators that she may have had knowledge at that time that Madeline wasn't coming back. I do see lots of unity with the boyfriend, especially around interaction with Madeline. I think I should be fair, though, and say that I don't spot a lot of guilty knowledge of anything seeping through. I don't think Jennifer has done anything that is sort of seeping or leaking out in her words, but I do think that she, for whatever reasons, is storytelling and potentially covering up for someone. Is she complicit? Or look, this guy seems like an absolute POS, so potentially she's a victim of him as well. But definitely storytelling, and I think she had some knowledge at the time of giving those interviews that Madeline wasn't coming back. A reminder for you, look at how closely the answer matches the question. When you ask someone a question or you see someone being asked a question, just ask, have they actually answered the question they were asked? Or have they changed the terms of reference a bit or avoided the question altogether? It will tell you a lot about what is going on in someone's mind and what it is that they really want to talk about. And repeated words, walking, vehicles, never made it, and ideas can reveal a lot. Bear this in mind and you'll know a lot more about what people are saying all around you. I'd be really interested in your comments about the strange noise in the background part, or about anything I've said or any of the words that Jennifer's used. You can comment on this platform around those if you can, or get in touch on social media. All the links are in the show description. Share this with other people, please. Let them know what is going on. I know a lot of people are interested in missing persons, and this may be very, very useful to them. You've already pressed the like button, so thank you very much for doing that. And if you want to get more episodes like this as they arrive, the subscribe or follow buttons will be your friend. Never a Truer Word is the place to go. There's all the socials that are linked there. You'll get behind the scenes stuff on Instagram, updates on X, used to be called Twitter, and there's a Facebook group you can join as well, which is very cool. You can watch people discuss words, or you can get involved yourself. You'll find more videos there. You'll find podcasts there as well, and a couple of books if you want to take a deep dive into the words that people say. And we'll see you again soon for something new from Never a Truer Word.